I like the controversial headline thumbnails. That's the way it is. But let's be clear before you rush the comment section and start acting all... I loved this episode. It was great. But the thumbnail's not wrong. I was ready to give up on this show. That's one of the reasons I didn't review this right away like I did the first two. Because I was so right on episode 2 in the sense that I liked episode 2. I rated it like a 7.5. I said it was really well directed. I thought Neil did a great job, but it felt like a Walking Dead episode. Whereas the first episode of Last of Us was like, it was really unique and interesting and what's going to happen. I mean, I knew the big stuff that was going to happen, but I was consistently hooked by plot and or character. Episode 2 was just like, it's, you know, it's some action and it sucked what happened to Tess and all that. And to be sure, I imagine if I hadn't at least played enough of the game to know Tess was going to die, perhaps I would have been more jazzed by episode 2. But episode 2 left me going, okay, it's a Walking Dead show, better than The Walking Dead. I thought it was great, but I'm like, I got things to do. There's a lot of things competing for all of our times these days. But I heard such great things about episode 3 that I'm like, okay, let me see what the brouhaha is, okay? And let me just say, I sure am glad I watched it. I don't know if I liked it more or less than episode 1. I don't think you can even compare. Episode 1 felt like a great action movie horror film to me. It just moved and moved and moved and moved, but it had really interesting characters as well. This felt, and I don't mean this in like a derogatory way, but it felt like watching a short, I don't know, I was going to say student film, but that does sound derogatory, like it's not pro. I don't mean it like that. It felt like a short slice of life vignette, but obviously done brilliantly, which is well beyond what you see at film school. But it a lot of times at film school, you would see these kind of slice of lifey kind of things. That's what this felt like. But it was so well done. It was so compelling and it was so interesting that I just fucking loved it. I didn't cry. A lot of people are like, you're going to cry. And I cry at everything. I cry at Hallmark cards. Okay. So I'm an easy cry. It was sad, but not really. I mean, what's funny about it is this is a show where innocent people of all ages are just ripped apart and shot. In fact, in episode 3, spoilers, but they're shooting babies and fucking leaving them to die on the side of the road in a ditch. So I'm not going to cry about two people who fell in love and found each other and got to live a nice long time pretty much on their terms. And then at the very end said, all right, I'm fucking old. I'm fucking sick. We made it. Yay. Let's go upstairs. Let's drink some wine, pass away together in each other's arms. It's emotional, but I don't think it's a sad episode. But anyway, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I was very confused and still kind of remain confused about why this was here this early in the season. This kind of almost feels like something that a show would have teased like the characters from time to time. And then towards the end of the first season or into the second season, it's like, oh, we're going to have a Bill and Frank episode. It's like, oh, okay. This just came out of nowhere. And I mean, that tells you how good it was that we had never heard of these characters before. We had never been introduced to these characters before. And you immediately are engaged in their story. So this is an episode that I think we will see talked about, awarded at the Emmys this year, certainly for writing, certainly for acting. The guy who played I get Bill and Frank, or all the names, there's a scene in the show, episode 3, where bad guys, raiders come and some guy gets out of bed and he's like, Bill, or he's saying Frank. I'm like, I don't know. It's like Ernie and Bert. It took me forever to figure out which the fuck one was which, but I still don't know. But the guy who played the older dude who didn't have the cancer at the end, he'll win an award for this easy. The other guy who I adored in White Lotus was great in this, but the other guy I think really stole the show. He was just fucking fantastic, but it was great. It was fucking great. I don't understand it though, why it was here, unless and I know this, I can't imagine this is the case, unless the show is going to basically be from here on in 80% little vignettes of new characters and how they're dealing with life after, and 20% as Ellie and Joel, kind of how they marble into that as they move across the country trying to get her to the Fireflies. I don't think that's the structure. Short of that, you are left to go, what? Why is this the third episode in a new series? That's kind of weird. It's not bad, and I really liked it. I don't know if I understand the choice, and I don't have to understand the choice to enjoy the show. It was very strange. It was a very strange choice. And maybe if I think about it more, maybe there's a metaphorical reason. I don't fucking know. It's a smart enough show that I'm sure they thought through this. I don't think, we didn't think about that, Jeffy. We didn't, what? Of course, they thought about it. I don't know why they chose it. I'd be curious what they say. But anyway, loved it. Let's talk about Joel and Ellie first before we get to Bert and Ernie, Bill and Frank. As I'm recording this video, it may not even be Bill and Frank. I think it's Bill and Frank. What was interesting about this episode is we start to see some arcing, specifically with Joel as he warms up to Ellie. And when it worked, I thought it was great. There were some beats where it worked and it was wonderful. Whether it was the coat or the sandwich, just little beats. But it felt really rushed in the sense that there was a lot that they crammed into this episode, especially when Joel and Ellie weren't in it all that much, to basically be building a relationship. You really could see the writer's room index cards on the wall going, okay, we need these 8 beats in this episode. So by the time episode 5 hits, it makes sense why Joel would risk his life for Ellie or whatever. It was a little too much, a little too forced in some cases. But I mean, that's a minor fucking gripe, but it was there. That was my thought. This scene felt a little weird to me because Ellie has seen all kinds of shit. This is the scene, if you haven't watched it or you don't remember, where Joel's like, hey, let's cut through the woods because there's some stuff up there I don't want you to see. You shouldn't see it. And Ellie's like, fuck you. She didn't say that, but she's just like, I'm going to go see it. And on one hand, it's like, okay, I get it. It's like he's kind of starting to be more fathering to her, which I thought was, I like that idea, but it was weird that the reveal, I thought the reveal was going to have to be something. Because, remember, this is a kid who last episode alone, I don't know if she was looking over in the balcony, but she knows that Tess was ripped apart by the bad guy zombie, whatever the fuck they're called, clickers, hoarder, I don't fucking know. But, Tess was killed. She's seen all kinds of shit and awful stuff. It's not like you're talking about somebody who's never, been outside of her home before. And seeing some dead bodies, and I get it. It's like, well, no, see, this was your government, whatever. It felt a little weird. It felt like they needed a moment. They wanted a moment where we could kind of really push Joel into a more fatherly role. But what they chose to have Joel respond to felt more like it was driven by the plot and not by actually what Joel would do. I don't think Joel would be like, oh, well, yeah, if you want to see it, here's what happened, Anyway, what minor gripes. I want to talk about the hole. Okay, because the hole, when she goes down into the fucking hole, first let me say, Ellie's awesome. Bella is fantastic. I loved her from the first moment she came on screen. And then this moment makes me a fucking fan of the character and the actress for life. This is fucking great. Let's just say Ellie going down into that hole was rich with meaning. Whether it was, and let me fucking preface this, whether you put Neil Druckmann and the Chernobyl guy in a lie detector test and they say, we didn't intend any of what you're about to say, Jaffe, it really doesn't matter, right? That's the funny thing is when you analyze creation from other people, it really doesn't matter what the artist intends. It's about how it affects you personally. And also an artist may say, well, I didn't mean that, but an artist is working on so many subconscious levels. Half the time I don't know when I was working in games what the fucking thing was about until it was over. So you can sit back there and go, oh, Jaffe, you're reaching. No, here's what I got from this. Let's just take it from that. This is the hole where Ellie goes into the gas station and she goes down into the hole. Okay, a couple things. First off, let me just get the problem out of the way. I don't know if she was looking for tampons or not. Obviously, I like the fact that if she was, she didn't want to tell Joel, but then at the end, she shows him the tampons, so that clearly wasn't it. Because, that's like a teenage thing to do. It's like, I don't want anybody to know I'm buying tampons. But it's weird that this kid who's seen so much shit already, really violent shit, she knows how dangerous the world is like, you know what I think I'll do? I'm going to look down in this hole. Now, if she had looked down in the hole and she had seen the flashlight and used the flashlight to see the tampons, I could see her going, okay, I really need those. And I don't want to tell Joel because I'm embarrassed by it or it seems too father-daughter or whatever. So I'm just going to go fucking do it. It seems safe. But the fact that there was nothing down there that she could see and she was willing to risk her fucking life, there was a weird little motivation there. She goes down there, she gets the tampons. Okay, that whatever. It is what it is. But here's the thing. Right before, what is she doing? She's acting like a little kid. And not to say who you're talking to. I know video games are not for little kids, but a lot of people think they are. And certainly Ellie, when she's talking about Mortal Kombat, she's talking about it like a little kid getting excited about, like, oh my God, it's so gory, it's so gross. And in a lot of rite of passages and a lot of hero's journey myths and a lot of coming of age myths, there is the aspect of facing your fears, facing your dragon, as Joseph Campbell said, going into the abyss, going down into the cave. In certain societies back in the day, they would literally take young men like, 14, 15 and put them in a cave, drug them up with all kinds of, ayahuasca and shit and leave them and go, hopefully you'll be able to kill what's ever in the cave and get home. The idea of descending into darkness and a scary place to face your fears is all throughout literature and storytelling and anthropology. When you throw in the fact that she clearly starts in the hole as a kid playing Mortal Kombat, she goes into the hole. We don't know why. That's the weird part. Maybe she's just compelled. She gets the tampons, which you couldn't have a better visual and conceptual metaphor for modern day transitioning from girl to woman. And then in that hole, she spots this creature, this zombie, this clicker, whatever the fuck it is. And this is what I don't understand. I don't understand the metaphor at this point, but it was rich and it moved me and it felt very powerful. She goes up to this guy, this zombie, and clearly he's not much of a threat at this point. I don't know what the cutting was about. I don't know when she cuts his forehead and she's just observing it. Is it the fact that she sees blood and goes, well, this, she relates. So she's like, oh, he's still a person. So there's some sympathy, but underneath the blood is just this nasty, clearly infected. He's no longer human. Is it the fact that she sees herself because she is both infected but not? And this is probably the first time she's ever seen one of these clickers that feels like it's retaining a bit of its humanity. And it's like, there's something about that. And then when you throw in the fact that it takes place in this hole, in this transition in her life, there's something there, but I don't know what it is. I don't know if the writers know what it is. I'm just saying to walk away and just go, yeah, she went in the hole and got some tampons and she killed a monster. And you're missing something, intentionally or otherwise. And then the part where the creature looks at her, and I watched this like 3 or 4 times because I'm like, am I seeing what I'm seeing? Where he nods, he basically is like, kill me. He wants to die. The humanity in him is still strong enough in that case to say, just do it. And then she just gets all rageful and does it. Maybe she has to go to that place in order to kill because she has to ignore the fact that there's a part of him that's human because she knows it's not going to stay. But like I said, I'm sure there's someone out there who's going to make a, 2-hour video essay on just this episode, and I will watch it if it's good because I was an English major. I did this kind of analysis with literature and stuff like that, but this is one that's eluding me. I know there's something there. Don't know what it is. Don't fully understand it yet. The Bill and Frank thing, it's a sweet story. It's a sweet story well told. It was interesting. I love the story and the characters, Bill and Frank, but at least I got this sense that it was kind of like any harbor in a storm. Like if, remember Niles from Frasier? If Niles from Frasier would have moved in next door, I think not the survivalist, the other one is that Bill or I don't know. I think he would have gone and hooked up with Niles because, I didn't really get that they were made for each other, but they took what they could get. And I thought that was sweet, but I thought it was also interesting that they were portrayed as not really that great of a match. At least that was my perception of it. The last shot I didn't see coming. I'm kind of a tasteless heathen, so I was kind of hoping they'd show the bodies, but I get why they didn't. And then that last beautiful shot, almost as if Bill and Frank are wishing Ellen Joel well as they drive away, and we kind of pull back and see the curtain blowing, and that was sort of their resting place. I thought it was very nice, very beautiful. Is it one of the best episodes of TV ever, like some people are saying? I don't think so. I think The West Wing and MASH and 6 Feet Under and a bunch of other shows would perhaps have something to say, but it was great. It was fucking great. Wonderful episode. I'm very excited for episode 4 now, and this has got me back on track. So again, don't come at me and act like I'm being controversial. I was going to stop watching it for the reasons I said at the beginning of the video. And now I'm like, oh, what's going to happen on part 4? Be well. You don't know what I'm doing. You just hear that sound. Be well. It's my gavel. Be well. I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.